Hello and welcome back to the channel where we discuss spirituality, consciousness, personal development, and all that fun stuff. Today we've got something a little bit different. A TV show. I personally think Severance is going to go down as one of the best TV shows ever of all time to ever be made. And here's why. But first off, if you've never seen Severance or if you're looking to getting into watching it, here's sort of a little plot synopsis of what it's about. The story focuses on Mark Scout, the protagonist, where he works at a company called Lumen, and this company has an experimental procedure they call Severance, and what happens is they insert a chip into the brain of whoever agrees to work for them. They hire, usually they go after people with an issue. For instance, Mark's issue is, it seems to me, that's what they do. Mark's issue is that his wife died, and so he's ready to do this procedure of severance. So what the procedure of severance is they put a chip in your brain and it creates two separate personalities. It creates what they call the outie and the innie. Now the outie has no knowledge of what's going on inside of his work life. On the other end of the spectrum, the innie has no clue of what goes on in their personal lives. They are two separate people. They're two separate consciousnesses, if you will. Super interesting. We'll get more into that in a bit. So the innies work in like this sterile office environment where they sort of punch and move around numbers on a computer. And like I said, the innies and outies have no knowledge of the two separate lives, and the innies are banned from sending messages to the outies. There is more to it than that, but that's essentially a brief overview of the plot. So this is really, really interesting because to me, in my mind, there's 3 levels to this show. There's probably, we could break it down into more, but I like to break it down into 3 levels. The first level is the surface level of the story, right? The storyline. The storyline's super unique. It's really difficult nowadays to find a story that hasn't been told yet. And because every story, nothing's new under the sun, right? Every story has been told. You know, we've seen Star Wars probably about 40 different times at this point, right? So Severance is great in that it's a unique idea and it addresses a real life issue, which is another level deeper we'll talk about later, that we go through and have today in today's day and age. More than just the plot though, another part that makes this show amazing is the cinematography, the color grading, the way that it's shot, the scenes, the music. I don't know if you watch any music YouTube, but Charles Cornell does a really solid breakdown of how cool the theme song is and sort of all the little hidden Easter eggs there. But yeah, beautiful cinematography. The shots are amazing, the color grading, like I said, and everything like that. It's really, really good how they portray the innies and how the cinematography, it's all bright and sterile and like minimalist. And then when you go to the outies, it's a bit darker, right? And it's a little less minimalistic. It's a little bit more messy things because you see his house and all this stuff. It's really, really cool. So that's just some stuff on the surface, right? But let's go to the level deeper. And the next level deeper is going to be the societal implications that this has, right? The statement that they're making at our current time in history where we're living right now. There's sort of a phrase or like an idea that gets thrown around in the art community, and that is that all good art is sort of a reflection of the times that we are living in that what it does is it takes sort of the good or the bad of what we're going through right now and it puts it on display for everybody to see. And this show does that super, super well. Because it seems to me that the show is sort of shining a light on how like our current like system works, and like going to work and sort of like 9-to-5ism creates this inherent split or duality in our personal lives and our work lives. We've all been there where it's like you go to work and the people there ask you like, oh, leave your problems at the door and pick them back up when you leave. I've worked a job like that. I'm pretty sure most people have. And like they don't really care too much probably. Now, that's an overstatement. I think our bosses are people too, right? And people care about other people, but the company as a whole They just want you there to be productive and to not be bogged down by your personal lives. And it makes sense to a degree, but I think Severance is kind of saying this is going a bit far. I mean, we even hear like some of these terms get thrown around, like my work personality, or, you know, my work wife or my work husband, or whatever that is, you know what I mean? It's off, it's weird. Severance is kind of shining a light on that, saying like, hey, this is what we're forcing people to do, you know? Everyone is kind of severed in a sense that works sort of a job like this, in a way. Very interesting. But let's go to the third deepest layer of this, which is the deepest layer of like the implications on spirituality and consciousness. It sort of is shining a light on, again, the fact that we have the ability to split and create different personalities for different scenarios. And I was actually talking to one of my students about this the other day, how like that's what integrity is. Integrity is, someone who has integrity is who they are all the time, no matter who they're with, right? And I remember when I was a kid, I was in a class, I grew up in a Christian school, and so I was in a Bible class, and the way that they explained integrity to me as a kid was like, it's what you do when no one is watching, right? And that's kind of a good example for a kid, because really what they're trying to say is like, it doesn't matter if someone's watching you or not, you're whole, you're integrated, you're not gonna do anything differently, right? And so what happens here, the implications that there is a lack of integrity that is being forced upon people, right? We are disintegrating people, right? And in the show, I won't give too much away, but in the show, there's even this process of reintegration is what they call it. It's really interesting because it shows that maybe to have a full integrity, you can't be in that scenario maybe, or it would be extremely difficult. Another really interesting point is that only the bosses on the severed floor do not have to be severed, right? The bosses are fully integrated. Right? So it's kind of an issue. I wonder what they're trying to say with that. But yeah, I mean, what really is integrity? I kind of said it a little bit earlier, but integrity is being who you are all the time, no matter who's watching you or where you are or what you're doing, right? If no one's there, if everyone's there, if one person is there, that's the fully integrated person. And that's what we all want to achieve. We all want to be fully integrated. We want to not care if anyone's watching, right? We be ourselves fully. But to me, it also kind of seems like it's shining a light on the issue of mental health that, you know, having like working a 9-to-5 can potentially impose, right? Because when we think of having multiple personalities, when I say multiple personalities, someone has multiple personalities, the first thing that you'd think, it definitely isn't like, well, that must be a completely mentally healthy person, right? So it's interesting in that regard. It makes you think about the effects and the impact of what having a 9-to-5 and having a job like this can really have on us. But Severance is going to probably be one of the best shows of all time because it is shining a light on this very, very brief time that we have right now, that we're having in human history where we work these jobs, right? This is going to be a very short period of time for us where we work these 9-to-5 jobs. This is, I believe, going to be a blip on like the human journey where we have these 9-to-5s. And Severance, to me, could potentially be a nail in the coffin of this sort of way of thinking. This show could change a lot of the way that, you know, if it doesn't change, you know, what actually goes on, it will at least change the way that we see it, right? And you know, how the old saying goes, if you want to change the things that you're looking at, then change the way that you're looking at them. In essence, if we change how we see something, it inherently will change. So Severance could have a huge impact on, you know, our idea of 9-to-5 and, you know, just the cultural consciousness of, you know, what we perceive and how we act at work. And it's raising a lot of questions, and it's making people think very, very deep about this stuff. And I'm really excited to watch the new episodes. I hope you are too. And you know, I don't usually do this on my other videos, but if you're here and you liked this video, go ahead and maybe consider subscribing. I talk about fun, interesting stuff, and if not, maybe just like the video if you liked it. So, but thanks so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day, and talk to you later.